until they are ready to spend one final summer of their lives above ground. So they come above ground for the very last time to find a mate and fall in love and reproduce and make more cicada babies. That's lovely. I like this chunk of info. So, regardless of the laborious work cicadas do throughout their lives, just because we people have no idea, we're ignorant like that, and we think all they do is sing throughout the summer, we sort of take them to be this kind of lazy creature that never does any work. And there's this very, very old writer, storyteller first, and a writer called Aesop, Aesopos in Greek, who used many kinds of different animals as a metaphor, as a parable of showing different kinds of people's personalities. Yes, Baba said, you're right. Now it does sound a politician. So back then we have written scripts about the cicadas that date to Homeric times. There is a mention of them in the Iliad. So they've always been around. They've always lived in this part of the woods. And just because we hear them sing so gloriously throughout the summer, we think they don't get any job done. They are lazy to our human eyes. So Aesop used this kind of simile to show how some people might be lazy. And he used them in a very well-known myth called The Ant and the Cicada. By the way, Lloyd, you probably don't know this, but cicadas have a very, very funny name in Greek. Would you like to know what we call them? Dzidiki.
Who the what? Say that again?
Dzidiki. Dzidiki.
Zidiki. Okay.
So we have Mermigi, which is the ant, and Dzidiki, who is the cicada. And the story goes like this. Once, the laborious ant was spending all his day working. From the moment the sun would rise in the morning, he would work, go round and search for food, for seeds, and bring them back to his nest, along with all the other ants, until the sun would go down. And only then, many, many hours later, regardless of the weather conditions, no matter whether it was shining or raining, always the ants would do this throughout the day, like good little soldiers, one after the other, taking care of their colony. But as the ant was working, he could hear a fellow insect, not of his kind, singing. So this ant would go and make the round outside his nest every day. And once he would get to that particular tree, looking for seeds or for anything, for crumbs, anything that people might have dropped, anything that would be of interest for his colony to feed upon in winter, every time he could reach that particular tree, up there on the branch, there would be cicada. One eye here, one eye there, membrane wings, transparent wings, singing his heart out. And as this cicada was Greek, it was singing a Greek song, of course. What else could it be? Which I have known ever since I was a child, because I have lost that skill now. You see, now I'm an adult. But then, when I was younger than Louis, our king, I could still make out what the cicadas were saying. And it goes like this. Μια ζωή την έχουμε κι αν δεν την γλεντήσουμε, τι θα καταλάβουμε, τι θα καζαντήσουμε, τι θα καταλάβουμε, τι θα καζαντήσουμε. This is a song about how we only get one life and how we're supposed to make the most of it, have fun. So the ant would work and hear that song, and every time he would look up and ask the cicada, "Hey, you, don't you think you should get some work done other than sing all day long?" And the cicada would look down and say, "Oh, my friend, you work enough for the both of us. I don't have time to work. We only have one life. Μια ζωή την έχουμε. We have one life. We must enjoy. This is my task. This is what I'm obliged to do in this one life we get." And he would continue, just carry on singing, not a care in the world. Μια ζωή την έχουμε κι αν δεν τη γλεντήσουμε, τι θα καταλάβουμε, τι θα καζαντήσουμε, τι θα καταλάβουμε, τι θα καζαντήσουμε. Μες στο ψευτικό ντουνιά, παίξε μου δίπλο πενιά, παίξε μου δίπλο πενιά και ο μήνας έχει 9, και ο μήνας έχει 9. So, well, it was not very unpleasant, so the ant would continue working and hear that song at the same time, but still he would look upwards because the cicada was up there, but honestly, in reality, he would look down on the cicada. It was reversed like that. Now, this happened time after time. Every time the ant would go look for seeds, they have one particular route they go explore, the ants. They don't just go rogue, they have rules, they follow instructions, they are disciplined like good little soldiers. So every time the ant would follow the same route to that tree, the cicada, the dziki, would be there singing his heart out. And, well, maybe the cicada was living a good life. Maybe the ant was just a tiny little bit jealous that he couldn't do the same. He felt obliged to follow his colony's rules, to work like that every day, make provisions for the winter. Winter was coming, always winter was coming in the ant's mind. So they had the same dialogue, repeat, one time after another. Until at the end of summer, the ant went under the tree for one last time, and because Michael just joined us and he hasn't heard the song of the cicada, I'm going to sing it again, just for Michael. The cicada, Michael, was up on the tree and he was singing a Greek song, of course, because it was a Greek, dzidiki. He was singing, «Μια ζωή την έχουμε κι αν δεν τη γλεντήσουμε, τι θα καταλάβουμε, τι θα καζαντήσουμε, τι θα καταλάβουμε, τι θα καζαντήσουμε». The cicada was singing that we only have one life, and if we don't enjoy it, we will never understand anything. We will never enjoy anything. So it was that summer was gone, and the leaves started falling from the trees, and the wind started blowing more and more often, and then the skies would rain. So the ants, having gathered the seeds for the day, they would go back into their nest and protect themselves from the harsh weather. But poor cicada, he had no nest. He was up there on a little branch, and this weather gave him not the heart to go on singing. He couldn't even sing. He couldn't enjoy life. He would never get his wings dry like that. Ah, sorry to hear that. Bye. So it was that the cicada decided he had had enough of it already. And that ant that acquaintance he had made throughout the summer, they had exchanged words. They had looked at each other and talked about things like the weather and some other things the aunt had mentioned, like work, but that wasn't anything important in the cicada's mind. So he just remembered words about the weather. And he thought, I've seen where that aunt goes. I know where his house is. I'll go knock on the door and ask for some shelter. It's really getting chilly. And so he did. He went down the tree, went towards the hole in the ground where he knew that the ants had their colony, found that little one particular door where our aunt, the one he had get to know in the summer, he had gotten to know him, he felt they were kind of friends. So he took the courage of knocking on the aunt's door. No, guys. Sometimes we hear these fairy tales, and sometimes they have this morale, this lesson they need to teach people. But ever since I was a kid, I never liked the ending to this story. Now, the classical ending to this story says that the aunt is not a very nice person, actually, because he wants to teach the cicada a lesson and tells the cicada how he has been lazy while he himself had been working hard, and slams the door to the cicada's face and lets him die in the cold. But Alistair taught us a good lesson about twisting the fairy tales we don't like. So I think my aunt is going to be somewhat different to the original one. They have this conversation, of course. Yeah, the aunt does say about how laborious he's been and how unlaborious in terms of work, not art, the cicada has been. But I think a better lesson than the one the original tale gives is try to find the silver lining between things. Because my aunt did tell the cicada just a little bit off, but then he was not harsh like that. He was an empath like all storytellers are. So he took the cicada in and he said, I think you have learned your lesson now. There's nothing for me to teach you. So come on in, I will help you survive through the winter. You can sing your songs and entertain us, and we will feed you. And they did become good friends, and they spent many a cold night together in front of the fire, exchanging tales and singing songs together and feasting upon the aunt's provisions. Because you know what? The cicada did learn a lesson. The cicada learned that since he had such a good voice, he shouldn't just give it away. He could get paid for it. And that's what he did. And you know what? Ever since then, the aunt just walked a little bit less. And the cicada just charged a little bit more. And I think those two have had the best relationship two friends can have together. We're not all the same way. We're not all the same kind. We don't have to be. We have to find the differences that fill the gaps. They're like little puzzles, we and our friends. We have to connect and be part of each other's lives, not necessarily in the same way, because we don't all have the same skills, but using the skills every person has in combination, this is the way we form communities. Thank you, Babasi. Communities and societies. And we need to look at the bigger picture. So, I hope, as Babasi did, that you enjoyed this version better. And If I have one piece of advice, thank you very much. If I have one piece of advice to give children who might be listening, children who don't know what they want to do in their lives yet, children who are thinking the many options they have when it comes to their future, I'd give one piece of advice. Make sure you love your job. If you love your job, if you're lucky like that, it will never feel like work. Excellent. So,
Bo, that was brilliant. And I particularly got a kick out of it because I just did a show in New York City and we were talking about it takes a village to be a village. And you were talking about the ant and the grasshopper coming together and helping each other. And that and it
cicada.
really,
It's a
well, I
gigi.
know here we call it a grasshopper. I'm sorry.
This is
Yeah,
why Louis said a grasshopper earlier. Good
right.
thinking, Louis. I didn't
So
know that.
uh so we they made a community. And that's
Yeah.
what performance last Saturday was about, community. So when
Mhm.
you started saying that, I said, "Oh yes!" But let me be quiet because you're the storyteller today. But I have to give you your props.
Lovely. Well, before we go on to our next tale, then, I need to show you, like in camera, our latest acquirement when it comes to family members. So this is Rezu. Say hello, Rezu. Can you meow in English? Hello. Oh, come on, Michael. He's good. So, Rezu, here's the story. When he was a few weeks old, he was abandoned by his mother. I don't know if his mother got killed or if he had this little thing. And sometimes when the cats are not perfectly healthy, the moms just give them up. So he was found next to a church and he had been attacked by a larger animal. They don't know, it might have been a small dog or a big cat. He had bite marks on his body and his jaw was not in place. And he had this very wobbly head, like the little dolls we put in cars. They move around, you know.
Obvious.
So, yeah. He was put on Facebook on a post by our vet, a local vet, saying we have a kitten for adoption. And the minute me and my daughter Persa saw him, you know, it's love at first sight. There's just so much you can do. It goes beyond our power. So we went there and we saw Rezu, whose name was Anastasis back then, because he had been found next to a church called Anastasi. And we didn't like the name much, but Anastasi in English is resurrection. So we thought that if we adopted this baby kitten, we might be able to give him the love and care he needed to be resurrected. So we called him Rezu, and that's his name. So he was Rezu Wobble Fluff, but I think that the wobbling is subsiding now. So he's just Rezu Fluff. Rezu kind of wobbly fluff, maybe. Oh, cool. Thank you, Kat. So this kind boy who sleeps on our beds, of course, because this is how it is. Once you get a cat, I don't know how many of you own a cat. Well, you never own a cat, do you? Anyway, stop it, Michael. I know you don't like cats. You're like the mouse of my story. Wait for it. So once you get the cat inside the house, the cat owns you. You're just there to serve them forever. So he sleeps on our bed. And, well, it's not like the frog in the day. He doesn't eat from my plate. He would if I let him and drink out of my cup. But for the moment, he's just made it to my bed. So this little guy here is the inspiration for my next tale, which will sound familiar again, but you know, Alistair, you know, wait for it. So, a family of mice was living happily inside some human's house. When the night came, all the members of the family would leave their little nest on the wall and scatter around the house, especially the kitchen. The kitchen was their very favorite room because there were always some crumbs on the floor. And if they were lucky, maybe some piece of cheese would have fallen on the floor and nobody would have noticed, and they would feast upon them. They were living a good life. Actually, they were living such a great life that they thought that the humans living in that house were their friends. They never would have guessed that the humans would one day bring a beast to inhabit the same house. One night, when the family was taking a stroll towards the kitchen to look for food, they heard this swooshing noise behind them. And they turned and they saw two eyes, big as plates, like they were a full moon. And after that, they saw teeth emerging from a mouth underneath and claws coming out of paws. And they ran for their lives and they barely made it inside their nest, where luckily they had spent quite some time and made rooms around it, because a huge paw entered their nest and tried to scratch on them to the right and to the left, but they were well hidden. Terrified, their hearts were bombarding in their chests, but they made it through the night. And the next day, there was an assembly, a family meeting. Choices were put on the table. Suggestions had to be suggested, and choices had to be chosen. So they considered their options. They thought at first about devising a plan to lure the beast outside the house and close the door behind them, but it was too dangerous, so it got rejected. And then they thought that maybe if they would lure some other prey inside the house, like some bird or something, the beast would just deal with that and they would escape. But they thought that this was kind of cruel. They didn't want anybody to die in their story. They thought and scratched their heads and scratched their chins, and then the littlest mouse, the smallest one, and the most cunning in the family said, "I have an idea. Why don't we put a bell around the beast's neck? That way we will hear it every time it approaches. It's very silent, you know. You cannot hear it. But if we put a bell around its neck, it might save our lives." And everybody thought it was a great idea. It was a glorious idea, actually. How come they hadn't thought of that? So everybody voted yes. It was a great suggestion. That is exactly what they would do. And in the story, in Aesop's story, they come to a dead end, because when it comes to finding a volunteer for the job, nobody wants to play that part. And this is how the story ends. And I don't like its ending, Alistair. I don't like it. It's dry and it leaves you just, no conclusion there. You need to have some closure. So I have a kitten, Many people have kittens in their house. Many people have cats in their houses. Certainly not Myrtle, but many other people do. And those people who had brought a kitten in their house thought it would be very, very cute to put a lace with a big bow around the cat's neck and a little bell underneath it. Every time the poor kitten would make an attack upon the mice would hear it from miles away. They were safe now. It was not exactly the same as it was before, but at least it gave them the chance to gather up their stuff put them in bags, and while the bell was ringing away from them, make it out from that house, just make their way and find another place to live the rest of their lives, away from fears. Devilish, Michael, kittens. And so it was a happy end for this mice family. But if you do have a kitten, not you, Michael, everybody else, if you do have a kitten or a cat, do not put a bell on its lace. Don't do that. Cats don't like it. People like it. But it doesn't mean that because we like it, we should impose it upon our pets. Don't do that. Cats are very, very silent animals by nature. They sneak up on Michael and attack his feet when he least expects it. So, yeah, don't put a bell. Just let them attack Michael. Right, so we have Didika cicadas on my island. We have ants, of course. Everybody has ants, I think. Probably even in Arctica, they might have some kind of ants. We certainly have good cats. But what we don't have here is an animal, a very cute one, kind of smelly maybe. You don't want to get bitten by it. I once saw one when I was visiting a friend in Wembley many years ago. I was just roaming around the park next to his residence, and one came out from behind the trees. I wasn't expecting that, just turned and looked at me with I don't know, its long snout and its bushy tail, and then disappeared inside the forest. Any idea what animal I'm talking about? Louis, do you think? No, Michael, it was not a wobble. Louis might think of what animal it is. Okay, it lives in the forest. It's small, has a long snout, yes, Kath, pointy ears, and a very bushy tail. Usually it's orange brown, has some white also. I know, Alice. Yay, right, fox. So we don't have foxes here. Maybe we had in the past, I'm not sure, but foxes like to eat chickens and they like to eat eggs, and so do people. So we are competitors like that. And people don't like it. And not only that, it's not just that we share the same taste in food, it's just also that in the past, some rich ladies would consider it to be very fashionable to wear an actual fox's tail around their necks like the real thing. They thought that was beautiful. Yeah, okay. Luckily, society is progressing. So let's hope that the foxes that remain are well looked after. They are part of the creature system around us. And we don't rely so much on chickens and eggs nowadays, so we can all live together. But as they would like to sneak inside the chicken coops and steal eggs and steal chicken, and sometimes, the farmers would find just a ruffle of feathers the next day, they were not very much loved. And they were able to use tools, some kind of tools, and they were very good at escaping humans. So for these characteristics, we have attributed a sense of cunning to them. And this slyness appears in all the fairy tales, almost all the fairy tales that have to do with foxes, especially Aesop's fables. So the first one shows another kind of people's personality. It talks about a fox, an individual fox, a lone ranger, just walking around and finding this great piece of vineyard that somebody had put up on a tree with ropes so that it would grow up there and the grapes would drop towards the middle of the trees, and they were beautiful. Oh, Louis, I don't know if you like grapes. We love grapes here. They're not out there yet. Next month, in August, the grapes come out and they're gorgeous. So, Fox was hungry that day. He looked up and saw the grapes, big chunks of grapes hanging from that tree. And he started licking his mouth, and his belly was grumbling, and he wanted some of them juicy, juicy fruit. He could see them glimmering. He tried going up the tree first, but it was a kind of very smooth tree. He couldn't get his claws in it and climb, so he just slid down. He tried jumping, of course, but every time he would snap at the tree, he'd just snap at nothing but thin air. He thought of putting one rock and then another rock and then another rock and just get a little bit higher and just jump as high as he could and try to snap at the last grape. But it was impossible. So in the end, he turned around. And you know what he said, Louis? You might know people like that. He said, those grapes, they're too green. They're not ripe enough yet for me. I'll just go find something else to eat. You know, sometimes people, when they are jealous, when they see you swimming, Louis, and they know they could never catch you, they might find some excuse for their weakness, for themselves. Sometimes we are little humans, we do that. We are sly like that. So this wee story, this little story shows us the fox's character. And it's like an introduction to our next step, which will not be long because I see that the time is passing. I'll try to make it short now. So there was the fox looking at the animals around him, trying to find, okay, let's make it a her in this story. Let's be balanced. She was looking at the animals around her, trying to find which ones she would play with on that day, who she would have a laugh at. And she saw Stark. And Stark came down in the river, put his legs, thin legs, inside the water, lifted one leg up in the air, and started trying to fish with his bill. And Fox looked at Stark and he said, look at that weird bird. What is he like? What does he look like? I mean, his legs are bending backwards and they are very thin. And he's so big and he's got this long bill, his long beak. It's so weird. I can have a laugh with him. So she thought of a way to play a farce on poor Stark. And she said, hey, Stark, I can see you fishing, but you're not catching much. You know what? Why don't you come to my place tonight? I'll provide dinner for you. We can have a good time together. We'll sing songs, we'll share stories, we'll have a good, nice fish soup. What do you think? And the Stark, well, he was taken aback. I mean, he hadn't met Fox before, but she was always mean to him. And she was always mean to other animals. And now Fox was inviting him to her house. Maybe, who knows, maybe she had changed. You know, sometimes even bullies deserve a second chance. You have to give them a chance. Maybe, not always, Alistair, I know, but sometimes you try if you're nice. So the Stark said, yeah, sure, why not? Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. So at the appointed time, Stark was there, knocking on Fox's door, holding a bunch of flowers, and he had in his hand, because he, in his wing, I mean, because he was a gentleman like that. And Fox opened the door and she was looking gorgeous. She had brushed her fur and her bushy tail was even bushier now. And he gave her the flowers and she smelled them and she thanked him and took him in and had him wait while she went to the kitchen. And the soup was smelling delicious, Louis. Fish soup was his favorite dish. He loved it. He loved it, even especially if it had small chunks of fish in it, you know. So she brought two very flat plates, placed one in front of the stark, placed another in front of her, and she started licking from the plate. But the stark, he did not have a tongue like that. He tried to put his beak inside the plate and fish something from the pieces that were traveling around the soup, but it was impossible. He couldn't eat out of that vessel. It was too flat for him. And he was hungry and he didn't want to make the fox feel bad. So he waited for the fox to finish her plate. And Fox had the audacity of asking him if he would like some more. And then he kindly refused and said that it was getting late and he should probably go back home. But the minute Fox closed the door behind him, he heard her laughing. He heard her laughing behind that door. She was satisfied. It was not by chance at all. Everything had been done like that on purpose. Now, Stark. He spent a sleepless night thinking of how he could get back, how he could get his revenge on that fox, how he could teach her a lesson. So the next day, there he was in the lake fishing, and there she was on the shore just lying there, and she looked at him and said, "I hope you enjoyed our dinner last night." As if it hadn't been enough, Louis, he turned and said, "It was wonderful. Thank you kindly, from the bottom of my heart. Now, I must pay you back, my dear. Why don't you come to my house tonight, and I'll have something delicious prepared for you." Well, that was not expected. I mean, Fox thought he might be, somewhat angry, and she could laugh a bit more, but not only did he not realize he had been made a fool, he was going to give his food away for free. Oh, that was getting even better. Yes, of course, I will come, thank you. So, at the appointed time, it was Fox knocking on Stark's door. And he opened up and he was a gentleman. His wings were shiny and white, and Fox was beautiful. She had a box of candy brought in there, and he took the box of candy and thanked her and took her in and had her wait in his kitchen while he went in the kitchen and brought two long vases full to the middle with soup. Well, he put one in front of Fox and he took the other elongated vase in front of him. And now he put his long beak inside that and he started drinking up the soup. And Fox thought about it for a minute, and then she took hold of the vase's upper part, and she tried to stuck her finger in it. But hard as she tried, it would not go down there. She could not have one bite. It smelled so delicious. And Fox was licking her lips and looking at Stark, enjoying his food, and she thought, this must never be known to anyone. One animal has managed to walk with me. I give him credit, but I'll take the secret to my grave. She thanked the stork, bid him good night, left that place, never looked back, always said good morning and hello to stork. They never invited each other to each other's home any longer. And stork never said a word because he didn't need to. And you, good people that listen to this story now, you must know it needs to remain a secret. Thank you, thank you. So, did you enjoy the stories, Louis?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm so happy. Which animal did you like best? Which was your favorite?
All of them. They're all my favourites.
Oh, you're so fair, my king. Thank you kindly. I love foxes too, Alistair. I do. I have huge respect for them. I like the fact that they were never tamed by humans. They still have this wild side that we must remember. We have a little piece of it still in our back of the brain, in the serpent part here, of how it is to be wild.
As you were telling the story, I suddenly remembered that I had heard it. I want to say when I was young, but I can't think that far back. But I've heard the story and I've always liked it, and I particularly like the way that you told it. You are quite the storyteller.
Oh, thank you. Thank you kindly. Well, I must be because I put Rezo to sleep.
But you know, a good storyteller, that's not necessarily a bad thing because it means you've
You're
relaxed your
right.
audience, and your
I
audience
very much enjoy. I mean, sometimes I fall asleep listening to stories. It relaxes me, so I take the same pleasure with putting others to
right.
sleep.
I've fallen asleep telling my own stories. So yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, anyhow, yeah, stories are great. You know, I
Oh, Alistair got his partner where he was singing for a summer garden party. Wow, nice. You were the cicada then, looking for a mate, I know. Lovely. What else?
no, I was just calling you
Michael
and
doesn't
I
like
could bug you.
Michael doesn't like cats, but at least he likes foxes. That's good. Okay, that's fair. Oh, Santa Mike says foxes come to their garden fence, not garden, and deer and squirrels and badgers and rats. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine how the rats are the least welcome. You know, but I don't know if any one of you used to have a hamster as a pet. Once you get a hamster, Alistair, you can never dislike any kind of mouse. It's very hard. You know, they just soften you like that.
We had a cat when I was
Alistair
in
doesn't like cats either. Oh, you don't know what you're missing.
we had a
Who could
cat when I was
respect my
in my
love?
teens, and our cat thought it was a human. It would sit on the sofa, put his forepaws on the sofa arm, and watch television with us, and cross its legs. Um, yeah, it thought it was human.
Yeah. I used to have a cat, my favorite cat. I was so sorry I lost that one. He thought he was a dog. He was raised with my dogs, and every time we would go out in the evening, he would just follow suit, come behind us like he was a member of the pack, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I think you would like that cat, Alyssa. He was special. Besides, he was orange and fluffy, so what's there not to like?
I had a friend that had a little small dog, and she had lots of cats and this one little dog. And I think the dog thought it was a cat.
We mix our personalities. I have two dogs, the kitten and the bunny. They don't always see eye to eye, these four, but this is how you make it as a family. Not all the
Yes,
members of the family
yes.
are similar. It's the same with people. You just love them for what they are. Well, it's been great. I think so. Babasi, I think we confirmed that next Friday we have Bob Carnegie stories.
Yes, yes.
And the first time I
And
heard Bob tell a story, it was a story I really liked about him getting lost while he was penniless somewhere in Canada, I don't know, or in Florida, I don't remember. And then the next time I heard him tell the tale, I thought, oh yes, I've heard this before, but then it was another tale.
ah,
Yes, well, it was the same tale, but it was not, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
So I'm very, very interested in listening to Bob's stories. They're never the same.
I'm not sure what's going to happen after next Friday, but I'm unabashedly putting in a plug for me. On August 1st, I will be the storyteller as part of my celebration of my 73rd birthday. And yeah, so
Bye-bye. No,
stay
your
tuned.
birthday lasts for a month at
Yes,
least.
yes. In fact, technically, I started already because they're Leos in July. But well, actually, that's later in July. But yeah, and I will celebrate. I'm doing Watermelon Day on the 2nd. I'm not sure who I'm having dinner with on the 4th, but it'll be spiced with little celebrations here and there. So I am excited about that. Mostly, I'm excited because I'll be 73. Yay!
Yay.
And just a little plug. Last week, I missed you guys because I was in New York. I was the griot and narrator for a production, and the production went down very, very well. And I'm excited. In fact, they want to have me back. So I'm excited about that. So
Good
yes,
job. Congrats.
right.
Great.
And yeah. So thank you everybody for attending and having a great time. I know you had a great time. No, I had a great time. I love the stories. I like the twist you put on stories. Because there's some stories I don't tell because of their sad ending. But
I'm
then
going to do something with Alistair. He doesn't know yet, but we're going to do something together with Twisted Tales. He got inspired me. Shh,
all
it's a
right.
secret.
I like a good twisted tale. Stories I'm talking about. And right. So hey everybody. Alistair and Kat and Louie and who did I leave out? Santa Mike, Michael, Maria, World Storytelling Cafe, who's ever in the cafe today, thank you for flying the magic carpet. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been quite an adventure with Despina. I got it right. With
Yeah, you did.
and but we allow John Rowe, he's an elder, he's allowed.
Even
So
if he were younger, we would allow him. Yeah.
so I'm in America, they are celebrating July 4th, which was their Independence Day. I celebrate Juneteenth, which was really the Independence Day for Africans in this country. But I want to wish everybody, regardless of what you may or may not be celebrating, to have a fantastic weekend. And until next time, remember, a story told once is a story worth telling again.
Yay.
And we'll see you then.
Kalinista.
All right. Everybody take care.
Bye,
Keep those stories
guys.
coming.
So good to see you, Louie, always.
Did you know Louis was at his prom last week?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, Louis was at his prom. Oh, I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but Louis was at his prom last week and he had a great.
Wow.
I'm so proud of him. We've watched Louis literally grow up on this station.
Yeah, that's true.
And now he's turning into a cow. That's movement.
Hi, TK, I heard that.
Well, I
You
didn't
look
utter
strong,
anything.
Jess, no matter what you do,
I
Hurricane.
know. How are you, Despina?
I'm very well. Very well, thank you.
I miss you very much.
Yeah, me too, me too. I'm so glad I got you this time.
I'm now 18.
Wow,
right.
you're legally an adult.
I am, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, no.
So I'll bid you good night, darlings. It's
You
been a
too.
pleasure.
All right.
Bye.
Everybody take care.
You too.
Okay, guys.
Until the next
Bye.
time, to be continued.
Bye. See, on the first week of August, I'm going to see you on your birthday on a Friday.
All right. I'm looking forward to that.
On the week after that, I won't able to do it because that's the last day I'm leaving.
Ah, where are you going?
I'm going to main camp in the houses. It's at the house organization. It's a activity week where we're going to the trips like Southampton, Burley House, Christie Park, Twin Lakes, Christie Park. I'm doing it in the first week. I'm going to see you on your birthday.
All right.
I I'm starting on. I'm counting weeks. I've done the 6th and the 5th. This is the 4th week, and then I'm going on the first week.
All right. Well, listen,
August.
we're friends, I think, on Facebook.
Okay, yeah. I am gonna see you on your birthday, and then on the Sunday I'm leaving. That I'm going. Then on that week I'm still there on the Friday night, but I'm not able to go there. Good to see. Good to see you guys in the second week on the Friday night. I'm not able to see you guys then.
All right. Well, look, if you take pictures, share them with me. I know we're Facebook friends.
I'll be back on the third week after that.
Okay. All right. I look forward to that. In the meantime, Louis, keep being the wonderful, precious.
I will. And
person that you are.
how's New York City?
Oh, New York was fantastic. They're going to cut us off in a minute, but New York was fantastic. They
Good.
treated me like royalty, which is ironic. But I went up to be.
Come on, time next week.
Say again.
Coming next week.
Okay. All right. In the meantime, you be good, be you.
I will.
Yeah, and we'll talk later. And I know that we got to let whoever's in the storytelling cafe, who's ever flying the magic carpet, we need to let them go. But Louis, you always brighten up my day, and today was especially wonderful because I'm a little under the weather, but you've made me feel better.
God bless
Cheers,
you.
my friend. All right, take care.
Take care, Bobby. See, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Until the next time.
See
All
ya.
right, World Storytelling Cafe, we are out.